Moving on, we need to understand what are the types of phishing. Now, as the world progressed, the phishers tried various and different styles of attacking the unsuspecting victim. We here delineate certain types of phishing that have been very prominent. The first being deceptive phishing. It is one of the most common form of phishing today, whereby an attacker impersonates an organization or a bank and sends a mail which contains surreptitiously fake link, which directs you to a mirror or a fake website, and which is not secured by an HTTPS or a secure connection. And the victim is thereafter requested to enter his sensitive information, including username, passwords, and credit card details onto that link, and therefore that details of that user is compromised. The second type of phishing that is very popular is the malware-based phishing. This is the form of scams which run by downloading a file on the victim's computer, which are mostly sent as an email attachment, or which when run infects all the other files on the computer of the user. We are well aware of how a .exe format file, if infected with a virus, is run on a computer, it infects the entire computer. The next form of phishing is keyloggers and screen loggers. Now, these are the form of phishing attacks which install helper programs onto your computer and which thereafter run as soon as a browser is opened or you conduct any activity on the browser, be it the Google Chrome, be it the Mozilla Firefox or the Internet Explorer or any such other browsers. The keyloggers and the screen loggers thereafter trace and record the keynotes that are being put in by the user. And this keylogger or screen logger thereafter conveys all the data to the attacker and thus compromises your sensitive details. The most used safety precaution against such attack is the use of online screen boards. As you might be aware, a lot of banks have now started using online or on-screen keyboards to request you to enter the details on their web page. Moving on to the next method of phishing. It is a session hijacking. Now, what is a session hijacking? A session hijacking is a type of an attack where users' activities are monitored until they sign in to a target account or they establish their bona fide credentials or conduct a transaction with the web page. At that point in time, the malicious software takes over and can undertake unauthorized actions such as transferring funds without the user's knowledge. The banks are most commonly affected by such attacks, and a lot of consumers have essentially lost millions of rupees as a result of this attack. The next type of phishing are the web Trojans. Web Trojans are one of the more common forms of phishing attacks. They're used by attacker as many websites are maliciously laced with such pop-ups that save the information of the victim locally and then transmit them to the attacker. Another form of phishing is the DNS-based phishing, which is also called pharming, a pharming with a PH, P-H-A-R-M-I-N-G. Now, this is a form of phishing where the attacker changes the domain name or the DNS server of the existing website and creates a surreptitiously looking similar DNS address and hacks the original site. which then redirects the visitors to the different DNS address, which is obviously a compromised DNS address. And the victim, who is unaware of the fact, loses his confidential details or data which he enters on this fake site. Now moving on to two of the most modern day phishing attacking methods. One is the man-in-the-middle phishing, and the other is the spear phishing. Let us talk in detail a little bit about man-in-the-middle phishing. Man-in-the-middle phishing is harder to detect than many other forms of phishing. In this form of phishing, the attackers position themselves between the user and the legitimate website or the system. They record the information being transmitted and entered and continue to pass it on so that the user's transaction does take place and is not affected. But the information that they collect in the middle is then transferred to the attacker, and the attacker is not active on the system at that point in time and collects the information at a later stage. Now, what is spear phishing? As we have discussed previously, spear phishing is one of the most common forms of phishing attacks that the organizations in the entire world are facing today. A spear phishing is an email spoofing fraud attempt that targets a specific organization and seeking unauthorized access to confidential data. Spear phishing attempts are not typically initiated by random hackers, but are more likely to be conducted by perpetrators out for financial gains, to take out trade secrets or military information. And as with the email messages used in regular phishing expeditions, spear phishing messages appear to come from a trusted source. Phishing messages usually appear to come from a large and well-known company or website with a broad membership base, such as eBay, PayPal, or Amazon. In the case of spear phishing, however, the apparent source of the email is likely to be an individual who is a trusted agent of the organization. An individual within the recipient's own company, or generally someone in a position of authority, is affected and confidential data is taken out.